Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome students. Today we have a fourth lecture of second year biology, chapter number 15. The topic today is the osmoregulation in animals. First of all, we will see the definition. The mechanism of regulation of solutes and water balance between organism and its environment is called the osmoregulation. Animals maintain water and solute concentration and adjust the body according to the requirement. They regulate the water and salt, and in this way they maintain the osmoregulation. Why the osmoregulation is essential in the animals? As well as we have studied in the previous lecture, that osmoregulation also take place in plants. But in the case of animals, it is more important to maintain the balance of water and solutes in their body as compared to the plants. Here water continuously enter in a body and leave the body, and organism maintain the homeostatic condition according to the requirement. Here we divide the animals into two classes on the basis of water and solute concentration. The first group is considered as Osmo conformers. The body fluids of these animals are kept isotonic to the external environment, even for marine or the salt environment. Such animals are known as the Osmo conformers. These animals maintain the water and solute concentration in a normal way, and they maintain the osmotic condition in which the internal environment as well as the external environment almost remains constant, and they no need to adjust internal osmotic state actively. The body fluids are kept isotonic to the environment. Usually we consider the example of marine invertebrates and hagfish. Second group is the osmoregulators. The animals whose body fluid concentration differ with the outside environment. Such animals are known as the osmoregulators. In this case, these animals regulate water and solute concentration rapidly, very actively, according to the requirement. They discharge the excessive water in hypotonic environment, while they discharge the salt concentration, discharge salts in the hypertonic environment. The examples here are all chordates except the hagfishes and protist, which include amoeba and paramecium. These two groups, osmoconformers and osmoregulators, maintain their water and solute concentration according to the requirement. Osmoregulation in different animals. We divide the animals into three categories on the basis of habitat and water and salt availability. First case, osmoregulation in marine water animals. Second group include osmoregulation in freshwater animals, and third one is the osmoregulation in terrestrial animals. Those organisms which present in the sea where hypertonic environment is present, salt concentration is more. This environment is the marine environment. And organisms present in the freshwater, these are the lakes, streams, rivers, where salt concentration is comparatively less as compared to the marine environment. And the terrestrial condition, organism present on the land. Osmoregulation in the marine water animals. We usually consider that in a case of marine water, the invertebrates are considered as osmoconformers, and the jawless fishes, hagfishes, are also the osmoconformers. They maintain water balance and solute concentration in an isotonic condition. While the cartilaginous fishes are the osmoregulators, they maintain lower internal salt concentration. Their kidney also excrete excessive salt, and gills secrete the salt actively to remove the salt from the internal side to maintain the salt concentration inside the body. They also have special rectal glands where they secrete the salts. To maintain the salt concentration, urea and trimethylamine oxides are present. Firstly, they retain the urea in an adequate concentration, but it changes the internal environment hypertonic to that of the seawater because urea is in the high concentration is damage to these fishes that retain another chemical trimethylamine oxide for the protection against the urea. In the case of bony fishes, these are also osmoregulators. Bony fishes are the descendant of the freshwater ancestors of the fishes, but later they become the marine fishes and they constantly lose the water. Fish drink large amount of seawater and they excrete the concentrated urine where maximum salt is present and the minimum loss of water take place. The kidney excrete excessive urine with the salt concentration and retain water inside. In this way, they maintain the salt concentration in a particular environment. Osmoregulation in the freshwater animals. These organisms have excessive availability of water where the salt concentration is less. So they need to avoid salt loss. In this case, endoosmosis take place. Water move inside. They require water as well as the salt. In this case, freshwater protozoans they excrete water through the contractile vacuoles. These vacuoles remove water, for example, in the case of amoeba and the paramecium. Many freshwater animals they remove excess water. Large volume of the dilute urine is also excreted. In this way, they actively uptake of salt by gills or by the skin to maintain the salt concentration inside the body. In freshwater fishes, they do not drink water intentionally only to maintain the salt concentration. They require water, otherwise, they remove water with the salts. Here the diagram which represent that osmoregulation in marine fishes and freshwater fishes. In case of marine fishes, they drink seawater, and in this way salt will enter into the body, so they need to actively excrete the salt by means of gills, by means of rectal glands, and need to discharge the salt from the body, and they need to maintain water and salt concentration. On the other hand, freshwater fishes they do not drink water, they have salt concentration they required inside the body, so they absorb it by means of gills or by means of skin, although they excrete large amount of water. In this way they also deficiency of salts, so they maintain the salt concentration by drinking minor amount of water, otherwise they need fulfill their requirement of salts by gills or by absorbing salt from the skin. In the case of osmoregulation in the terrestrial animals, where the organism present on the land where water availability is less, so there is a chance of loss of water which lead to dehydration. In this case, they adopt some preventive measures, and these are called the adaptations. These adaptations are some are related to the skin, some are behavioral or metabolic adaptations. They also bring some change in the nutritional requirement. In the case of insects, the skin is waxy exoskeleton. The outermost covering of the skeleton is known as exoskeleton. It is made up of chemical known as wax, which prevent loss of water from the skin in the case of animals present in the severe drastic condition where availability of the water is very less. Those vertebrates which are present in the terrestrial condition, the skin is the multi-layer and made up of dead keratinized skin cells which retain water inside, and the loss of water is very rare. In the case of kangaroo rat, this animal present in the desert condition and they can survive many days without drinking water and feed, so that the carbohydrates present inside the body, they also produce the metabolic water. These organisms usually eat food which is consist of carbohydrates. Animals living in the terrestrial condition, their kidney also produce the concentrated urine. Salt concentration or concentrated salt will enter into the urine, but more water will be reabsorbed by the kidney. Some organisms adopt a nocturnal condition. In this case, these organisms come out in the evening time or night time where the loss of water is less, and their behavioral adaptation reflects that they can survive in the terrestrial condition where drastic environment is present and they have less availability of water, but according to their adaptation they can survive in the deserts. These organisms usually eat moist food so that with the food they also fulfill the water requirement. Some of the organisms can tolerate water availability and they can survive in the condition where water is less available. That condition is known as the anhydrobiosis. In the human kidney, the hormone is also produced known as antidiuretic hormone that reabsorb the water and produce more concentrated urine. In this way, these organisms which are present in the terrestrial condition, they can survive even in the severe drastic condition. Today, we have studied osmoregulation in animals. In this case, we have studied osmoconformers, osmoregulators, and how the osmoregulation take place in the marine water animals. What are the kinds of animals, how they do maintain the osmoregulation, and osmoregulation in the freshwater animals, how the living organism present in the freshwater habitat they can maintain osmoregulation and water and solute concentration. Similarly, we have studied the organism present in the terrestrial environment, what they feel the changes or what they adopted changes behaviorally, metabolically. In this way, they survive and maintain the water and solute concentration. With this, thank you, students.